What do you make of this? Albie Amankona is a political commentator, the co-founder of Conservatives Against Racism, and joins me now. Albie, do you have any sympathy with Nadine Dorries?
I'm afraid I don't have any sympathy for Nadine Dorries in this situation. Unfortunately, she's not behaved in the best way over the drama over her peerage, apparently not coming to fruition. But on the point of Boris Johnson, I am genuinely sad to see the way that he has fallen. We've got to remember that he was the Prime Minister that did win the Conservatives a historic 80-seat majority, and he had a huge opportunity to change the country. And it's very unfortunate that not only did he fall because of his actions during Partygate, but he didn't put that 80-seat majority to any good use whatsoever.
Why do you say unfortunate? Unfortunate for who?
Well,
the country, the Conservative Party?
I say unfortunate because in 2019, when Boris Johnson won his 80-seat majority, it was after a period of real difficulty in Parliament where Theresa May couldn't get anything through. There was a huge Brexit deadlock. The public were very frustrated with the way that Parliament was working. And with that 80-seat majority that Boris Johnson won, it was a chance for us to move on from that parliamentary malaise and for Parliament to start actually implementing legislation that was going to positively change the lives of the British people. And Boris Johnson wasn't able to do that because he wasn't able to behave in a way becoming of a Prime Minister and a Member of Parliament because of the way that he handled Partygate.
You're talking then about what was an opportunity for a fresh start. Is today, or this week at least, an opportunity for Rishi Sunak to have a proper fresh start?
I think it should be an opportunity for Rishi Sunak to have a proper fresh start, but Boris Johnson is making that very difficult for him because the way that he is behaving is opening up old sores within the Conservative Party. I don't think the party's been this divided since Boris Johnson had to step down around this time last year. But we've also got to remember that around this time last year, Boris Johnson stepped down because he wasn't able to form a government because all of his ministers were resigning. I think at the time, Conhome did some polling of Conservative Party members, and I think 66% of them wanted Boris Johnson to resign. So I think that Boris Johnson's supporters, Nadine Dorries, Simon Clarke, Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg, should actually remember that last summer he had lost both the support of the Conservative Parliamentary Party and of Conservative Party members.
If it was that clear-cut, Albie, presumably on Monday morning, the Conservative MPs will vote and say, yeah, we agree with the report. The punishment was correct for Boris Johnson, 90 days suspension. But it looks like that's not going to happen because Conservative MPs want to consider their own political career and their own popularity and don't want to alienate perhaps Conservative Party membership if they quite liked Boris Johnson.
Yes, we have heard reports that there are Conservative MPs concerned about perhaps not getting re-adopted as MPs, or those who are applying to new seats not getting adopted as candidates in those seats because they don't want to vote against Boris Johnson and because they're concerned about his supporters not supporting those MPs in their parliamentary careers. I would probably say that concern was a little bit misplaced because I don't get any sense from the majority of Conservative Party members that I speak to that anyone is really that concerned about Boris Johnson's legacy. I think what people are more concerned about is winning the next general election. And in order to do that, the party's going to all need to be pulling in the same direction. And Boris Johnson is pulling in a different direction. He's putting himself before the party, he's putting himself before people. And I think ultimately what members care about the most is loyalty to sitting prime ministers.
Albie, thank you so much. Actually, just before you go, could it have played out differently? Could Boris Johnson have taken a different strategy, or do you think it's kind of part of his personality that an end like this was inevitable?
I think it could have played out completely differently. I was firmly of the mind from the very beginning of Partygate that if Boris Johnson had just come out and said, this is what happened, we were working very closely together, we socialised after work, we now realise that was wrong, we apologise, we are never going to behave in this way before, we understand the sacrifices that we were asking you to make that we didn't make, but we did do some really important things during the pandemic and let us work better for you in the future. I actually don't think any of this would have happened. It's not the crime that does it, it's the cover-up. And Boris Johnson, in trying to cover up his own actions, has ended his own political career.
Albie, thank you so much. Albie Amankona, political commentator and co-founder of Conservatives Against Racism.